in Lent this year. Because at first the answer seems easy. I have frequently consoled myself with the easy and correct answer. Well, being a Christian means being like Jesus. And this is most certainly true. It cannot be otherwise. But I'm still confronted. I'm still confronted by this question because the truth of the answer doesn't seem to penetrate my life the way I would like, and it doesn't seem to penetrate the world the way I would like. I want the truth to feel truer. I suppose then that I've been confronted with this question because I've been confronted by the cross. If being a Christian means being like Jesus, then I cannot escape crucifixion and death, and neither can you. I cannot escape his cross. I cannot escape today's crosses and crucifixions inflicted by the bigotry of other Christians, or the barrel of a gun, or the stroke of a legislator's pen, or by the neglect of corporations' economic interests. So I am confronted by the question of what it means to be a Christian, because it compels me to look at the cross. And the cross compels me to ask, what does it mean for God to be God? I thirst, says Jesus in John 19 as he dies. He would have looked pathetic up there, gasping for vinegar. Most of the disciples are gone in John's gospel. I can't blame them. I would have done the same thing. He's just too pathetic up there. And I don't want to be confronted by that. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I want following Jesus to look like a life full of health, joy, peace, independence, no trouble, prosperity. I can imagine the disciples saying to themselves, I can't follow you, Jesus. I can't be like you if it means I have to see you like this. I don't want to see you thirst because I don't want to live a life where I have to thirst. But this is how God is wiser than we are. He doesn't want us to answer the question of who he is without the cross. And I think this is why being like Jesus has felt like too easy an answer to my question, even though it's true. Because deep down, I don't want being like Jesus to have crucifixion involved. I want it to look less pathetic. I want being like Jesus to look like a well-adjusted life. I want it to make me feel comfortable. And yet Jesus won't let me be comfortable. His cross is set before us. Thank God that we cannot escape this cross set before us. Jesus knows that we like to use our ambitions for peace and prosperity to crucify one another. So instead, he wants us to know him, first of all, in this God-forsaken way, as someone who threw away the chance to live a well-adjusted life in order to become needy. He became needy because Jesus knows the divine secrets of human history, that the God Israel stores up his kingdom for history's victims first. That new world God desires to bring into being, the kingdom, it belongs to those who thirst. It belongs to those who thirst because a thirsty person knows that they need something. And it turns out that knowing you need something puts you in a better position to listen to God. Because knowing that you're needy reveals what you and I all are: vulnerable, weak, thirsty. And that's okay. We are thirsty because we're creatures. We're creatures God has made and who cannot will their own existence into being. None of us lives to himself, says the Apostle Paul. None of us. none of us except Almighty God, of whom it is written, has life in himself. Before any of us make anything of ourselves, we have been made fearfully and wonderfully by God. And that means we are needy, and that means it's okay. So Jesus thirsts because he is a human being, and to be a human being is to thirst. And thus, to be God is to enter the lot of those who thirst. And God does not hold this fact against us. He does not despise this. Psalm 22 says today, he does not despise nor abhor the poor in their poverty. I am sure these words were in Jesus' heart as he asked why God has forsaken him. That thirst, the vulnerability of being a human being that we shun in all of our basest instincts, that is the thing God cherishes as the very sign that we are his. So when Jesus says, I thirst, we can have faith and trust that God has intervened for our thirst. In the cross, Jesus meets our thirst with himself. There's so much crucifixion around us, so much hopelessness and vanity in our most painful and honest moments. And yet Jesus does not look on any of this suffering with contempt, even when, especially when we are mutually implicated in it. He looked upon a world full of death, and he gave a life, his own. And he would not hesitate to do this. He would not hold back. He did it freely, because Jesus does not despise weakness. He stays with it. He abides in it, transforming it from the inside out. And that's what it means for God to be God. Only by the cross, then, yes, only by the cross and this fact of crucifixion, can a Christian truly know what it means for God to be God. God is the creator who does not hesitate to intervene in affliction with his own self and his own life, his own presence. And that is sufficient, more than sufficient. It is full, perfect, sufficient, a full, perfect, and sufficient sacrifice, oblation, and satisfaction. No wonder Jesus said, it is finished, with his last breath. Because this fullness, this perfection, this satisfaction of need, it is finished and fulfilled by crucifixion. It is not fulfilled by a well-adjusted life, not by good vibes, not by schemes of success and health and wealth. All of that ultimately crumbles to dust at the foot of the cross, and you cannot lay a foundation with dust. Psalm 118 says, the stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Marvelous. So what does it mean to be a Christian? I think it means to become a new type of person, someone who can marvel at the cross of Christ, because they know that this is what it means for God to be God. And thank God for that confrontation. Thank God that he confronts you and I to reveal the neediness of our identity and our life. And thank God that he reveals this with a crucifixion, the very instruments we fashioned to avoid confronting our neediness. God will continue to be God no matter what, even through suffering and death. Matthew's gospel says the soldiers mocked Christ like this. They said, if you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. Yeah, if you are who you are, then be strong. Stop being this needy. Stop being this pathetic. Being pathetic isn't what gods do. And Jesus was silent because his own suffering and his body on that cross was its own answer. It needed no words. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. No, he replies, not with words, but with his own blood. No, because I am the Son of God, I will not come off this cross. God will not and cannot be anyone else but the one who stays on the cross with everyone else. So what does it mean to be a Christian? I think it means to be what we are right now in this moment. It means to look at the cross and stay with Jesus, who has chosen to stay with us yesterday, today, and forever.